So like
Oh,
Blue Beetle, right?
yeah.
Um, I really loved watching Blue Beetle because this is a movie I've been looking forward. So I'm a little biased because I've been looking forward to this movie for months. I've been talking about it on DCU daily for months.
Yeah.
And so, the trailers were really good for me. I really liked some of the cheesy elements that they showed. I loved like the action bits. And I was not just surprised, but also really just amazed to see that not only did they not put all the best stuff in the trailers, but the moments that we didn't get in the trailers were some of the best moments in the entire movie.
Hmm.
In terms of just the character bits, like some of the conversations that George Lopez character has with Jolo Maraduena's character, or like the Bruna Marquezine's character Jenny Cord has with Jaime Reyes, like when they're at her old house and stuff. And overall, I just love the world that they created for this movie because that's something which was because there was a lot of controversy initially around Blue Beetle in the comics is from El Paso, Texas, and in the movie they created a fictional Palmyra city. But then as the movie goes on, you start to realize that they didn't just make that change for vanity. Like Palmyra City and the social and economic demographics and just how everything works in the city is a central part of the movie and the identity of Jaime Reyes and his
Yeah.
family, which really was surprisingly good.
They do reference it as being one of the keys, right? Like in Florida, which makes sense. I mean, that's like a predominantly Latin American area. Um,
Yeah.
so I just honestly, I knew it was fictional, but it did seem like they tried to build it into like the Florida culture, which is like very extreme. We saw that major shift in Miami like years ago where gentrification is just pushing out so many of the people that made Miami what it is. So I did really like those notes of truth and just there's such a massive gap in wages in bigger cities like Miami or in the Keys, and they made that so obvious here. And it was just so real and grounded, which I really appreciated. I did have, so I want to preface this by saying that I did like the movie. My issue with the movie was that there were so many glaringly like wrong moments that I wish they would have taken and just given the movie an extra 20 minutes to sit and fix those issues. Because if they would have made one comment about Jenny Cord's accent, oh, she grew up in Brazil with her family, it would have made sense. Jenny Cord should not have such a strong accent if she grew up in that family in the Keys. Like it didn't make sense. I was like, she's a great actor. There are certain actors, obviously like Ana de Armas, that we really just overlook it. And it's really good in certain parts of the movie, but then in other parts of the movie, it is so strong, it doesn't make sense. Like George Lopez and the father, they came over from Mexico, it makes sense, right? But they didn't take enough time to like explain these little moments that really added into the storyline. And I'm like, this movie could have used a bigger budget and this movie could have used more time. And I almost never say that because it just feels like certain moments that they like rushed through it. And I don't know why other than budget.
I Well, budget might be part of it, but like for one, I don't usually get distracted by those kind of like
Mm-hmm.
things as much. So like, the accents, I'm like, okay, I got the explanation. She probably can't do like an American accent as easily. So that's maybe like that's why they explain it away. And like then
Don't
because
explain it away. That's my problem with it.
no, I know, I see your point though, but like for me, it wasn't as big of a concern because I was just engaged in the story, and I think the biggest thing for me was like despite like so many characters, there's a lot of characters in this movie. There's a lot of supporting characters, whether it's Jaime's family or Jenny Cord or Susan Sarandon's what's her name of it? She's another Cord. Obviously,
Um,
I forgot her first name, but
Victoria.
Victoria Court, right? So like and then of course the bad guy which basically the third act in this, like the final fight, seemed like a little bit like a combination of Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2's bad guys kind of
Yeah.
fighting. It was a little bit of that. Like you could definitely feel the similarities, but ultimately, I think like despite so much going on in this movie, so much world building going on, even like the moments when they were in basically the Cord cave, I'm gonna call it, like not the Bat cave, but when they go into like the the
I
original
remember
Blue
that,
Beetles.
yeah, with that town, it's like
Um,
Pago or something. It's like a Pagos, like they own this island off the coast of nowhere.
right, right. It's just so there was so much going on in this movie, but ultimately I still felt like the story of Jaime Reyes, like kind of you could follow it all the way through and through, that the movie was about him. It wasn't about all of these other things. All those other things were sort of like, helping to not just ground his character but also to flesh out this world.
But see, I
I
do
still like the
disagree.
character based.
Yeah, I was like, I
Yeah.
disagree with you because there were parts of this movie that I was like, yes. And then there were parts of this movie that I was just like, and so many people that I have been talking to about this movie were like, and even when I posted about going to see it, they're like, oh my God, I heard it was awful. And it's those things that do make a big difference, especially like coming from an acting standpoint. Those are like the little things that I pick up on that maybe not everybody else does, but all together it creates this universe. And like there are too many holes that if they would have taken more time with the script, they would have just reshot that scene one more time so she didn't seem so like it, like there was like one specific scene that I looked at, like when the house burnt down and the dad has just died and the whole family is there, and then all of a sudden Jenny Cord pops in the frame and I'm like, why wouldn't you show her there before? It like almost looks like she wasn't there. Like that was like
Yeah,
weird. Like
but
it just didn't make overall sense. So if
I
they
mean,
have
like,
a sequel, I just want them to take more time with it. Like I'm mad that this movie didn't get more time. That's really all it is. Like more time, more budget, and more of like a second glance through of like, oh, this doesn't make sense. This is a hole. Let's fix that. That's all they needed.
I can see that. I mean, with $104 million budget, which by the way, originally wasn't even that much,
Yeah.
because this movie was being made for HBO Max at the time. And then they said, oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's release it theatrically. So they added a little bit to the budget. And I don't think they spent a ton marketing this. So ultimately their spend on this movie is probably 150 million or less. But it's a movie where I can tell you that there are some directing and some editing issues where I felt like the pacing, maybe they moved beyond some emotional moments a little too quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the action beats kind of felt a little rushed, or like, so there was a little bit of unevenness to it for sure. For me, the character work that they did around that stuff, though, like kind of balanced it out well enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a 76% critic score. So it's certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And it's got like a 92, I think, from the audiences. So it's doing really, really well.
The people who are going to see it do like it, right? Like for the most part. But a lot of people are not going to see this movie. So we need you to go see it, everybody. It is a good movie. And I'm excited for the future of Blue Beetle, which it does sound like there will be a future to Blue Beetle, you guys. But not to make everybody think that like I don't like the movie. It's not that. There were some really great movies. I think Jaime did a great job. I think there were certain jokes. George Lopez, you gotta love George Lopez. This is like his comeback. I loved George Lopez as a kid. I think he's so funny. And I loved some of his moments as Rudy. I also I think Jenny Cord had great acting moments. Like when she was crying, all of that felt so real, so natural. And when the brother and the sister, these are all spoilers, sorry you guys, like just massive spoiler alerts. But there's one moment when the sister and the dad are on the ground, I almost started crying because he's like, it's all gonna be okay. And it's not gonna be okay. And my heart broke into like a million pieces and I'm almost crying. It was like it was just one of those moments where you were like, holy shit. Excuse my language, guys, sorry. So it was definitely one of those, but Susan Sarandon's acting is some of the worst acting I've ever seen from her. It was so bad.
It was very one note because but I think like that's where they didn't really give her a lot to do. So I don't know if it's so much on her as it is on the direction and what the script was. But yeah, there were definitely moments in this movie where I was like you said, the part where the father passes away. I mean, that like it felt about as real as any superhero movie moment that you might remember, and it felt like probably the most emotional. It was the most emotional moment in the whole movie, and then it really drives the action forward the rest of the way, like, and the how what motivates the characters. um and because of that, one of the best parts of the movies that comes up later, which is when the grandmother, the Nana, like how
Nana, Nana
she
Reyes,
was
she was
she was
great.
like her like revolutionary past comes back. I was every moment the rest of the way with her was some of my favorite parts of the entire
Yeah,
movie.
she's
Yeah.
awesome. She's awesome. So that's just what I mean about this movie is, and I was so conflicted even watching the movie because it just like, I just, there were so many parts that were so good. And there were so many parts of this that were so bad. And it almost felt like when I watched The Little Mermaid, because it was like so many parts of The Little Mermaid were so freaking good and so awesome and so like revolutionary. And I love the music and I love this. Halle Bailey was great. And then there were so many parts about this movie that I'm like, what the, what? Like, y'all didn't do a retake? Y'all didn't watch that back once? Like, it looks weird. Why wouldn't you reshoot that? Like, it just, I don't know. It feels like something was missing here that I would need in order to like move forward with it. I would need more from the sequel. You know what I mean? Like, I need.
Yeah, no, I get that though, but as a first movie for the character and kind of establishing the world that they did and all the character beats and everything, I definitely think it's a solid foundation to build upon. And then certainly when we get to like the first post credit scene kind of teases that Ted Cord is not quite dead.
Yeah.
Where he is, we don't know. Like, what did you think? Because it has two post credit scenes. What did you think about the first one?
So I saw the first one. I didn't see the second one. The first one, I mean, I was excited. I'm excited to like sort of finish out that storyline. I wouldn't be surprised if Susan Sarandon's her character had a big part to do with why he went missing. I'm excited to like sort of learn about that. Also, I think it's kind of cool and novel that they're like combining like the real Blue Beetle with, he was technically considered the Blue Beetle, right? Like
comics, Ted Cord is the original Blue Beetle. It's kind of like Ant-Man, like the way it's done is where you have this, the original character, and then of course Scott Lang's Ant-Man is like the one who's taking on the mantle. So Jaime Reyes, although in this case the difference is in both Ant-Man versions they're using kind of the same suit or the same tech. In this version, one of them is based on like the Scarab is actually creating the suit for Jaime, whereas for Ted, like he wasn't ever able to unlock the Scarab, so he kind of built his tech almost like Batman, except a little cheesier than what you which they do hint at in the like Batman is a fascist.
Like SpongeBob SquarePants. Do you remember the old like the elderly superheroes in SpongeBob? You know what I'm talking
about? Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Yeah.
Their tech and their costumes kind of mirror the Blue Beetle costumes.
It did. You're right.
Kitschy they are. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to like, I think they're going to come out with a second one. That feels pretty secure. James Gunn has made comments trying to like help the marketing because he shuts down so much of the DCU that sort of there's this sort of like DCU fatigue of like, where is it going?
There's been a lot of confusion recently, especially with like the Wonder Woman remarks from Gal Gadot. I know James Gunn has said it on multiple occasions now, including like he posted on his Instagram account that him and Peter Safran, the co-leads at DCU studio, well, not DCU, DC Studios, they're the co-CEOs. They went to a screening of Blue Beetle, and then he's posted a picture saying, I'm so excited to see this movie, and this character is going to be such a fantastic, I'm paraphrasing, but this character is going to be a fantastic part of the new DCU world moving forward. So clearly this is the second or third time that he has said that, which at this point, I don't know how else you could take it other than the fact that, hey, Blue Beetle will be in the DCU, regardless of how much of this movie's events count in the new DCU or not. But certainly when you look at the fact that they teased the future for Ted Cord at the end, and that scene was not cut out or replaced, because I remember when The Flash came out, they had redone the scene at the end of that movie where, George Clooney's Batman Returns, apparently. Originally, that was supposed to be I think Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle's characters as Batman and Supergirl were meant to be there, and they changed it out. And not only that, but they also, I think there was meant to be a Batman cameo in one of the recent. I think they have taken out the Ben Affleck cameo in the new Aquaman
Yeah.
movie, and they were at one point had a Michael Keaton cameo. They removed that. So clearly, for all the stuff that James Gunn is doing to not promise anything that will not come to fruition in the 2023 slate of films, leaving the Ted Cord Easter egg or whatever you want to call it, that open thread in this movie and the post-credit scene, as well as how they it's a very open-ended movie. It's very much the beginning of hopefully something bigger. And then what he's saying on in his own social media accounts, I feel like Blue Beetle has more of a future than perhaps any of the other characters we have seen from DC this year. Like, we don't know if Ezra Miller is going to be the Flash anymore. We don't know if Shazam and Zachary Levi are going to be back, or Black Adam is going to be in the new. I think Black Adam is definitely not happening, because The Rock said it himself. They're not moving forward with that character. But and that's hurt those movies, because it feels like you're going to watch something that's more of a dead end. Whereas it feels like with Blue Beetle, there's been more of an effort to try to connect it with this new universe that James Gunn is putting together.
Which is promising, but it's also good for marketing, because it's like, it's exhausting watching superhero movies back to back to back, because there is sort of like this superhero fatigue going on, right? With all of the the DCU and the MCU, and it's like, oh, okay, like, but we're ready to get invested again into new characters, I would say, across the whole of the DCU and the MCU. So it's exciting to see, this sort of like coming to light, and James Gunn making more promises in a way, because this man hasn't made any promises.
Well, I will say this, though. The director of this movie, Angel Manuel Soto, he has said that they have planned this franchise out as a trilogy at least. And Jolo Mariduena said at one point that he wants to be playing this character like for the next 12 years, kind of like Hugh Jackman and Wolverine kind of deal. So they've definitely got the intentions. But
he's young too. He's young. He was great, and he's so cute. Yeah. He's so cute. Yeah. And he's and honestly, they're like Jenny Cord and his thing it's so cute and wholesome and awkward.
It was like it felt very. It's the closest that I have felt to that Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker relationship in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Yeah, because it felt so realistic, like watching Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone in those films. Like, that's exactly what how teenagers interact when there's this unsaid thing between them. So because he's always trying to play it cool, and then with his sister he's like, stop it. Like, so there was a lot of like good character moments around that whole situation. Yeah, I love that part of the movie.
So ultimately, Blue Beetle, definitely go see it. Let us know what you guys think. It's definitely like a family friendly favorite, I would say.
I mean, the movie is all about family.
What's real is family.
Like, it really is.
And I do love all of the family themes in it. So go see it. Let us know what you think. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, do all of the things here at Oh So Curious.